Hi everyone! It will be my first coloring from my new book by Tomoko Tashiro. I selected Snow White and Dwarves from Princess and Fairies book. I really wanted to learn properties of the paper, so I decided that first I will be using different mediums. I decided that for the grass I will be using watercolors, and I used yellow green and olive green. I think that I used quite a moderate amount of water, and thickness of paper is medium, paper isn't thin, but I was surprised to find that pigment of my watercolors bleeded through and I got stains on the back side of this page. Fortunately, on the back side I have a pattern which I didn't plan to color, so I wasn't very disappointed and upset. At least pigment of watercolors remained bright and nice. Next I decided to color frame, and here we have a spread. Both pages are dedicated to Snow White, so I decided that I will do the similar frame for both pages because I definitely want to color the right page also. So for this I used Alkaline watercolor marker, and it's dark amber, so quite dark color. I was surprised that alkaline marker didn't bleed through. Another surprise, surprise. I think maybe I will purchase another colors of liquid alkaline watercolors, the same thing which is inside this alkaline marker, and I will try to color in this book on this paper with liquid watercolors. But until I purchased these watercolors, I decided that next medium I want to test is neocolors. And honestly, before this coloring, I've never had any problems with neocolors. Even dark colors never bleeded through. But on this paper, I got another surprise. When I applied my usual amount of water in order to dissolve neocolors, I discovered that lemon yellow also bleeded through. And I realized what is the problem of this paper. It absorbs water so quickly that there is a possibility of bleeding through, and also water dries so quickly that I wasn't be able to get a smooth washes and to dissolve my water-based mediums without visible strokes, so I had to work very quickly. I already mentioned in my review for this book that good thing is that behind each paper which has interesting characters and illustration to the fairy tale, usually we had some picture with pattern or some random objects, so they are less interesting for me. And I definitely will be using water-based mediums in the future, because here we have a lot of pictures with huge empty backgrounds and also a lot of pictures with hundreds of tiny objects which will be impossible to color without water-based mediums. But I still have to experiment more about amount of water which is possible to use here, and honestly, I was surprised how quickly paper absorbed water. Next, I decided to switch to regular pencils, and first I used Prismacolors. I started from coloring grass and from tree trunk. I forgot to mention that for some elements on the frame I used golden gel pen. I think that brown and golden colors are very suitable for illustrating fairy tales, and in this way my picture started to look like a real illustration. To draw individual strands of grass, I selected two shades of green, but I started to feel that Prismacolors maybe are too soft for this paper, especially if you have to color small objects. For the tree trunk, I loved how Prismacolors behaved better. It looks like tree bark consists of several folds, and for each fold on the tree trunk, I selected 3 shades of brown. Closer to the inner part, I used darkest color, sepia. Then for the middle part, I used brighter chocolate color, and closer to the edge of each fold, I used light beige sienna. They mixed nice on this paper, but still, for covering paper smoothly without visible white stains, I had to use blender. And I felt that on this paper, harder pencils like Color Softs or like polychromases will be behaved better. So I decided that I will switch to polychromases, and in the future Faber-Castell polychromases will be my main choice for this book. Next, I decided to proceed with coloring Snow White. She is a main character here, the focal point of the picture, and colors which I selected for her brightness of her dress, it will decide colors and brightness of the rest of the picture. I decided to start from her face and skin. First I used Nougat to lightly indicate shading on her arms and face. As usual, I imagined that light is coming from the upper left corner. So left part of her face and also left parts of her arms are slightly lighter. So I put Nougat on right part of her arms and also where her chin casts shadow on her neck, where her hair casts shadow on her neck and face. I tried to be very light-handed. Here we have such a sweet image, and also face and arms are so small that I didn't feel that I need heavy shading. I put very light layer of brown color. Next, I used light flesh as a main fair skin tone, and I covered her whole face and her arms. After that, I used a mid-tone of cinnamon to smooth area between Nougat and light flesh, again to emphasize areas on the right parts of her arms and also around her eyes. I wasn't sure what to do with her nose, but then I decided to leave it as it is. It's a cute artist style to draw faces without noses, and I decided that so far I love Tomoko Tashiro's style. As she is a Snow White, she has to have a very fair skin, so I decided that I will use ivory on top of all other pencils, and in this way I lightened and smoothed my skin tone. For the hairs, I used mix of black as the darkest color, mostly in the area around her face and where artist already indicated folds on her hair. For the middle parts of her hair, I used Payne's gray, and to add some brighter color and color accents, I used Prussian blue. I love to add blue accents every time when I need to color black hair. Also, it's important to leave uncolored white areas on the upper part of each wave in her hair. In this way, you will get beautiful highlights, and it will help to create the effect of her shining hair. Later, I smoothed this area with ivory, and it got a slightly yellowish color. I think that it helped me to create the effect of the sunlight reflecting from her hair. With polychromases, I was really happy how pencils behaved and how they cover paper, so definitely in the next parts I will be proceeding with polychromases. I hope that you will be watching my next parts where we have to color dress and dwarfs.